Greeting, everyone. Good evening. It's my pleasure once again to welcome you to our Thursday evening training. From wherever you are joining us, it's a warm welcome, and I hope that this finds you well. And quite happy to spend this next 1 hour with us talking about our products as well as our business system. For those of you who are very new, my name is Betty Oloo, a long-time distributor in Neolife, who I'm always happy to spend this evening with you speaking about how to position our products so as to be able to help those people whom we come across with the issues which we from time to time discuss in our training. So as you might have seen in your invitation for today, the topic I'm going to be speaking about in the first session is heart health support. So this is how we position our products to help us to have a healthy heart and circulatory system. And I think that this is a very important topic for us to talk about because one of the most serious lifestyle related illnesses is to do with the heart and the circulatory system, which means that this is an area where we can actually play an important role in the lives of those people who are struggling with these conditions. Heart problems are amongst the top killers and top disease and disability causing conditions that we come across among the lifestyle related illnesses. So without further ado, I would just like to introduce the topic with maybe some of the things that we already know from our high school biology. And this is that the circulatory system, which we often speak about as the cardiovascular system, is the system that consists of blood vessels, and the heart. So the heart is a pump made of muscles, which is found inside our chest cavity. And what it does is continuously pump blood throughout our lifetimes. The function of the circulatory system is to provide a transport system for the body through which the body can supply all the tissues with what they need, as well as eliminate the byproducts from our cellular activities. So this is a very important system because if you can imagine, even in our normal life, the transport system of a city or a country plays a very important role in the economy and the well-being of the people of a country. So the same case applies to us with our cardiovascular or circulatory system. It is very important for our well-being and our health. And that is why today we'll be speaking about maybe some of the problems that we come across and some of the ways which through our products and our lifestyle and education, we can actually be able to help ourselves and those in our circle of influence. So first and foremost, there are three terms that we come across often, which I wanted to start with now. One of them is heart failure. So maybe you may have come across someone who has been told that they have heart failure, or maybe a family member of yours, maybe an older person. So it's good for us to understand what that means. So heart failure is when the heart's ability to pump blood efficiently is diminished. And this means that maybe the pressure at which the blood is now circulating has been impaired because the heart is not working as well as it should. So that is when we say there is heart failure. It does not mean that the heart has failed and now a person is dying. It just means that when they test the person, they find that the activity of the heart is diminished. And so the pumping mechanism is not as efficient as it needs to be in order for the blood to reach all the places it needs to reach and also to return to the heart. Then the next terminology is heart attack. So this is when blood flow to the heart is interrupted. Remember, the heart is an organ like any other, and so it too requires a blood supply, which will supply it with oxygen and energy, as well as take away the byproducts from its activities. So if the blood supply to the heart muscles themselves is interrupted, that is what we refer to as a heart attack. Again, this does not imply that the heart has necessarily stopped beating. In fact, in many cases, when there is a heart attack, there may not really be that the heart has stopped, or that some people don't even have a sign. It's only later on when things escalate that the doctor might be able to say that there has been some heart attacks. So heart attack refers to when there is an interruption in the blood supply to the heart. And this is the second terminology I wanted to speak about. And the third one is cardiac arrest. So maybe you have also heard about this term. This one refers to the heart suddenly stopping beating. So this is where actually you are speaking of the heart having stopped beating. And this is linked to the malfunctioning of the electrical impulses that govern the heartbeat. So here we are dealing not with the blood supply or with the efficiency of the heart, we are dealing with the electrical function that through the nervous system governs the heartbeat. So the heart needs to beat in a specific rhythm at a specific rate for it to be normal and working well. So if this is interrupted, then you can have the heart suddenly either start missing a bit, what is called, it loses its rhythm, or it can actually stop beating. So just to say that all these are serious situations, but it is good also to know the difference between them. Obviously, as you can imagine, when we speak of cardiac arrest, this is an emergency because it means the heart has actually stopped beating or is beating erratically, which implies a serious emergency. The others are also serious, and that is, of course, why I said at the beginning that these are issues that we need to have some understanding about so that we are able to help ourselves and others. Then the next part I wanted to speak about blood pressure. So this is another terminology that has become very, very common in our lives because we know that abnormal blood pressure has become a common problem with many people that we come across. And this is another lifestyle related issue. And so it falls in this group of the health of our circulatory system. So blood pressure, just to describe it, is the pressure exerted by the circulating blood to the walls of the arteries or the blood vessels. So that is what we mean when we speak about blood pressure. It's a pressure that the blood itself, the liquid that is flowing in the blood vessels, exerts on the walls of the arteries as it is flowing. So the normal range of blood pressure, so the blood pressure is maintained by the body within a range that is called normal. If it goes above that, that is when we speak about high blood pressure. And if it goes below that range, then we speak about low blood pressure. So normal blood pressure is not a specific point, it's actually a range between 2 points. So it can be a bit higher or a bit lower depending on what you're doing. Maybe if you've been exercising, it might be on the upper, or walking about or doing something vigorous, it might be on the upper side. If you have been resting or sleeping, or you just had a meal and maybe it's relaxing, it might be on the lower part of the range, but it needs to be within that range as a matter of habit. If it chronically goes above or below, that is when we speak about high blood pressure or low blood pressure. And the organ that is specifically concerned about the blood, maintaining normal blood pressure, is the kidney. This is because the kidney regulates the volume of blood by regulating the volume of fluid in our bodies. So the kidney plays an important role in the normality of our blood pressure by regulating the volume of blood, that is the amount of blood that there is in circulation. And this volume is going to, together with the working heart, is going to determine the pressure exerted on the wall of the blood vessels. So as you can see, it's not only the heart that is concerned with the health of our circulatory system, the kidney also plays an important role because it is the one which can decide to excrete a large volume of liquid and thereby reduce the volume of blood, or it can retain fluid and thereby increase the volume of blood. So then a heightened blood pressure is a normal part of our response to stress. So not every time we notice high blood pressure is a problem. heightened blood pressure is actually part of our response to stress. During periods of normal stress, let us say something is going on, maybe you have an emergency taking place and you're attending to it, your body actually responds by producing certain hormones, which maybe one of them we can speak about is adrenaline and others. These hormones signal to the body the need to increase the pressure of the blood. At the same time, the body will respond to these hormones by speeding up the heartbeat. So if the heartbeat, and you've noticed maybe when you're under stress or you have an emergency, you can notice your heart beating faster. So this is as a result of those hormones that we produce during stressful circumstances. So the body responds by speeding up the heartbeat and also widening the opening of the blood vessels. So the wider blood vessels means that the flow of blood is also increased, because this is how our body prepares for action. Obviously, we know that when there is an emergency, our body prepares us for action. Sometimes the action may require that we are moving faster than we were moving before. It may require that we pick up something, like let us say that someone has injured themselves and fallen down. It may require that we pick them. So our body responds to any stressors, or maybe someone has put us in a fight situation where we now realize we need to defend ourselves or we need to escape. So all these are stressors which can lead to the production of these hormones, which instruct the body to speed up the rate at which the heart is beating, as well as open up the blood vessels to increase the blood flow. Once the stress has been resolved, then the hormones are dissipated and the blood pressure returns to its normal range. So this is an important thing to mark, that when we have an emergency situation, we can have a heightened blood pressure. But once the emergency has been dealt with one way or another and the situation has been resolved, then our blood pressure should return to normal. However, we notice in some situations the high blood pressure can become chronic. And this can be as a result of various factors. I can give you the example of chronic stress, which we have spoken about in other topics. When we have chronic stress, maybe we have got a difficult work situation or a difficult family situation, which produces continuous stress. This can become a chronic source of stress response, which means that our blood pressure does not get the chance to return to its normal range, which means that it stays in that abnormally high range that is supposed to only be there when we are dealing with stress. So this is a different situation, and this is a problematic situation when we have chronically heightened blood pressure. It can also be combined with inflammation, as well as other factors. And the main problem about this chronic high blood pressure is that it contributes to the damage to the inner walls of our blood vessels. So it is damaging because it is not our normal situation. And what it will do is that our blood vessels are going to start deteriorating their walls are going to start deteriorating in quality. Such damage to our blood vessels will cause particles flowing in the blood to be trapped, and eventually, as the body is trying to heal those damaged parts of the blood vessels, a thick kind of layer is going to start forming on the inside of the blood vessels. And this is what we refer to as plaque, where we start seeing that the opening of the blood vessel becomes narrower and narrower. Again, this is a problem situation because if you think about a tube through which fluid has got to pass, if the tube is very narrow, then the pump has to work very hard to force blood through that narrow tube. If the tube is wide open, then the pump has an easier time pumping blood through it. So when our blood vessels become covered with plaque, then it means that the heart has to work harder to maintain the blood pressure at the required point, because the blood vessels themselves are now narrow, which means that pushing the blood through requires harder work from the heart. And so this is how blood pressure can actually lead to our heart being overtaxed. And when our heart is overtaxed chronically, then what we are going to notice is, of course, with time, the heart might start being less efficient. And that is when we speak about the heart failing, because it is now struggling to keep up and it starts to show inefficiency. Then, so what are some of the issues that affect our blood circulatory system or our cardiovascular system? I've mentioned already, maybe in passing, the ones I introduced, maybe the heart attack, the cardiac arrest, and the heart failure. Also, I've mentioned the high blood pressure and its effects. And these are some of them, but I'll add a few to the list. So the risk of cardiovascular problem is raised by certain factors, of which I've mentioned chronically heightened blood pressure, which is a leading factor in these heart-related problems, heart and blood vessels-related problems. In addition to that, there is an increase of fat, especially around the waist. So here we are not speaking of general, let's say, body fat. For instance, if someone has got large hips or buttocks and so on, we are speaking specifically about fat that is deposited around the waist, so that we notice that the person's waistline is becoming larger and larger and the belly becoming more protuberant. This is actually what is called the problem fat, because this can contribute to these cardiovascular issues. One of the ways in which it contributes is that the fat in the abdominal area is going to compress the organs that are contained there. For example, the kidney, which we already spoke about as playing an important part in normalizing of our blood pressure. We also know that the kidney plays an important role in other things such as detoxing our systems and so on. So the fat in this middle of the body, the waist area of the body, is going to compress those organs that are found there. And there are a number of organs there. Then the fat will also interfere with the hormones that are supposed to provide different signals to our body for different things. So this fat in the abdominal region is one we should always be concerned about. Most of us, I know people in my age group, for instance, and even I myself, struggle with keeping that fat around the waistline low, because we notice that we easily start picking up fat. Maybe the belt starts being tighter, the belly starts being more protuberant, our waistline becomes larger. This is always cause for concern. In fact, much greater concern than, let us say, an increase in the hips or in the arms. So if we notice this is the kind of fat that is associated with heart and blood related problems. Then the third one is diabetes and pre-diabetes. This, of course, is a topic we also speak about often, and we'll tackle it at a later date, diabetes and pre-diabetes. But just now, I want to mention them as one of the contributors to cardiovascular problems. So high blood sugar contributes to the damage to the blood vessels. Remember, we mentioned this just a few moments ago, that high blood pressure can contribute to damaging the blood vessels. High blood sugar also compounds that damage. In addition to that, high blood sugar, it also leads to deterioration in the quality of blood itself by causing some harmful substances to be formed in the blood. I will not go further into it than that, just to be aware that diabetes and pre-diabetes do contribute to poor health in our blood and in our blood vessels. And for that reason, it is important for us to resolve diabetes and to reverse pre-diabetes so that it does not become full-blown diabetes. And as I said, we'll speak about that when we are speaking about the topic of diabetes and the products that help with that. Then the fourth item on my list is a sedentary lifestyle. That is a lifestyle where there is a large period spent sitting down or very scarce moments of movement. This can be as a result of the kind of work that we do. It could also be as a result of illnesses that we have. Maybe we are unwell, or maybe we have a job which requires us to sit for long hours, or it could also be that we have joint problems that makes movement difficult. So all this can contribute to a sedentary lifestyle. Unfortunately, we are built to move. We are built for movement, and we need exercise as part of our life. Even if we don't partake of exercise, like let's say being a member of a gym or some formal situation, it is important that we remember that we are built to move, and we should incorporate as much movement as possible in our lifestyle so as to be able to keep our hearts healthy. So, how does movement and exercise help in our heart health? Number one, it improves circulation and helps to normalize blood pressure. Remember, a lot of these problems start with abnormally high blood pressure. The other thing that movement and exercise does is that it helps to normalize blood sugar. So if you notice that you're tending towards pre-diabetes, one good thing that we can add to our lifestyle is going for a walk after meals. So just the simple matter of going for maybe a 20-minute brisk walk after a meal is going to help the blood sugar to be kept within the normal range. Remember, a lot of the things in our bodies have to be kept within a range, and the normal range is a specific range between two figures. So we want to keep as close to the normal range as possible at all times. Then the third thing that movement and exercise does to help us is that it supports a stronger and healthier heart. Because we notice that when we are walking vigorously or jogging or doing some vigorous activity, we notice that our heart starts beating faster. That means that the muscle of the heart itself is actually getting exercised so that it is maintaining its strength and health and blood supply. So that is a way in which exercise and movement supports our hearts. It also helps us to cope with stress. You may have noticed that when you have got a lot on your mind, or you've got certain issues that are bothering you, going for exercise or going for a walk can actually help to resolve the stress. And when we are speaking about the topic of stress resolution, this is one of the things we normally recommend. And we also know that in order to maintain a healthy body weight, we exercise and movement plays a role. So those are some of the ways in which exercise will help us. And that means that we should really avoid falling into the trap of a sedentary lifestyle. One of the worst inventions we have in the world today is chairs and sofas and stools and benches, all these things that encourage us to sit down. So I recommend that whenever possible, we should try to move around, walk around. If we are sitting down, we try to get up periodically and then sit down again, so that we don't get trapped into the habit of sitting for prolonged periods, because this contributes to a lot of health problems. Then other factors are smoking and excessive use of alcohol. This can contribute to chronic systemic inflammation, which can also be contributors to high blood pressure and other health issues. Of course, you will notice that some of the risk factors for cardiovascular problems cannot be avoided. Two of them are the following: our age. As we age, our blood vessels also tend to lose their elasticity. When we are younger, the walls of our blood vessels are quite elastic and able to expand and contract easily. But as we age, they become a bit stiffer. We can try as much as possible with things like exercise and so on, but it is a part of the process of aging. In addition to that, our genetic makeup can predispose us to certain types of cardiovascular problems. So this again is in our genetics, but remember, we always mention that your genetics can load the gun, but it does not fire the gun. It is the lifestyle and other factors that can fire the gun. So even if we have got a genetic predisposition, it is important that we know that that does not mean that our hands are completely tied. It just is a warning that we should be extra careful taking note of some of those factors. So other factors which we can help are, for example, what I mentioned, resolving stressors in our life and keeping a diet that is supportive of good health. Then some of the healthy heart lifestyle points are having a diet that is nutritious and is made mainly of minimally processed foods. Then we should exercise for at least 20 to 30 minutes every day or at least 5 days a week. Then also we should protect our sleeping time. Sleep is very important for our good health, and we need between 7 and 8 hours every night as far as possible. And then, of course, we should reduce the exposure to harmful substances such as cigarette smoke, junk food, and drugs, recreational drugs, and lack of activity, as I mentioned before. Now, turning our attention to our Neolife products, which have a very, very important role to play in help supporting us in this lifestyle of supporting our healthy hearts and blood vessels. So the first product, which is well known to most of us, I'm sure, unless you're very new, is omega-3 salmon oil. And omega-3 salmon oil is a superstar in our general health in the many areas where it supports good health. So in the case of our cardiovascular health, it prevents the formation of plaque that adheres to the inside of our blood vessels. Remember the one that I mentioned makes the blood vessel opening smaller and smaller as time goes on. So omega-3 salmon oil will act like a soap to help the body in cleaning out plaque or preventing it from sticking so that it can be carried out and be neutralized in other parts of the body concerned with that. So by doing this, omega-3 salmon oil helps to lower blood pressure. So we would be recommending it for people who are struggling with heightened blood pressure. People who have got heart problems also will benefit from omega-3, as well as a variety of other conditions. Then the next product we recommend is lipotropic adjunct, which is a group of nutrients that help to prevent the formation of harmful types of fats in the blood. And the lipotropic adjunct is also going to prevent the formation of plaque. Remember, I said omega-3 prevents the plaque from sticking to the inner walls of the blood vessels. Lipotropic adjunct helps the body to prevent the formation of the plaque itself. And then the third product we recommend is garlic allium, which prevents the production of the hormone that signals for the blood vessels to be constricted, for the blood vessels to become abnormally narrow. So garlic is going to play a role in the production of that hormone and at the same time in keeping the quality of the blood good. So garlic allium, another important part of our heart and blood vessel health. Then the next one that helps with the heart itself is coenzyme Q10, which supports efficient heartbeat and thus reduces the incidence of heart failure and other heart problems. So coenzyme Q10 now helps us, especially on the side of the heart itself, the organ, but also with other health aspects as well. So coenzyme Q10 is the fourth one. Then the other one is magnesium complex. So magnesium complex helps to regulate the heartbeat rhythm. So remember, the heart needs to beat at a specific rhythm, which is governed by an electrical system that comes from our nerves. So magnesium helps in regulating the heart rhythm and thereby prevents the irregular heartbeat, which is another problem that we can have. So then the last product I will recommend for heart health is vitamin C. So our vitamin C here, we have the sustained release, which is a very useful one because it produces the vitamin C periodically so that in a 24-hour cycle, it makes sure that we are provided with just the right amount of vitamin C that we need. So this one, the vitamin C plays its part by helping with the repair of damaged blood vessels. So we know that vitamin C plays an important role in the general repairing of the body's tissue. So that includes the blood vessels themselves. As we've seen, blood vessels can be damaged as a result of various things. So by taking vitamin C, you are going to be assisting the body with what it needs to repair the blood vessels. So I see that my time is exactly up. I hope that the information that we've had during this session has been useful to you, because, as I said, this is an area where we have many people who struggle. Some of them are still at the beginning of the problem, that is maybe just noticing an abnormality in the blood pressure. Maybe others have noticed that their hearts are not working as efficiently as they should. Maybe they are getting short of breath when they are active and so on. So all these are causes for concern. But as I said at the beginning, our part as Neolife distributors is to educate ourselves and others, and also to position our products so that we can be able to help people, especially when dealing with these lifestyle-related illnesses, which are now amongst the top killers that have been recorded in the world. So with that, I want to thank you very much for the time that you have spent with me, and to wish you the best, as we are now in the middle, at the almost the exact middle of the month of February. I wish you all the best as we go into the second half. I hope that you are vigorously working towards your goals for February and for 2024. Thank you very much. Pascal is standing by to take you through the business part of today's session. Here he is.
Thank you very much, Betty, for that wonderful nugget on health, heart support. I see here I don't know whether this is being recorded in French also. Anyway, I'll check with Cynthia, because there was a note coming from the screen that somebody was requesting French recording. Anyway, we'll discuss this later. So my session this evening are two things. Remember, the key to these training sessions, especially in business, is to master the 7 skills of becoming a professional network marketer. Last time we spoke about 2 skills that you need to develop. One is how to find prospects. Number 2, how to invite prospects professionally so that they can have a look at the business. The session today I want to talk about is how to present the business. How do you present this business and the products to your prospects or customers so that they can actually take an interest in the business? And secondly, once you show them the business, the next very important skill you need to learn and develop is how to follow up. There's a saying in our business, we said the fortune is in the follow-ups. Why is that saying very important? Because the average person says yes after 5 to 8 times of being shown the same information. So you need to master the skill of presenting the business and master the skill of following up on your prospects. So if you will pardon me, I want to share the screen with you so that we can take this along. Now, what is presenting the business? Presenting the business simply means that you expose to your prospect either the products or the business opportunity so that you give them enough information to be able to make a decision. It's important for you to note a few things that are very important. And that's the thing about duplication. And remember this, it does not matter what works, it matters what duplicates. What does that mean? That sometimes you may be very excited, you tell your prospects, you give your prospects a lot of information, you inspire them, they join the business, and you keep doing that. The question you need to ask yourself, can most people in your team do what you are doing? If they cannot, then you need to think again. So it does not matter what works, it matters what duplicates, because the core of our business, the reason why you're in this business is to gain financial and time freedom. And that only happens when there is duplication in your team. The second thing you need to notice about this presentation is you are not the message, you are the messenger. What does that mean? It means that don't focus attention on yourself. Focus attention on the business, on the needs of the prospect. I was listening to a tape, I think it was Eric Worre who said, if you speak to your prospect so much that you convince them with a lot of information, your ego may be inflated, but your bank balance will go down. That is the meaning of this statement. You are not the message, you are the messenger. And the messenger needs to transmit the message effectively. And that means that you need to focus the attention on the needs of the prospect and what the business can do to meet their needs. That's what this statement means. You're not the message, you're the messenger. The third part of presenting the business, you need to learn to tell your story. There is nothing as powerful as telling your story. And in fact, I think the most effective way of teaching anything is using stories. If you go throughout the history of mankind, the most effective ways of teaching anything is to tell a story. Why? Because people can relate to the story. People can say in their mind, I'm just like Pascal, or I can relate to what Pascal was going through when they joined the business. All right? And there are four aspects of telling your story, four parts of telling your story. First, you tell your prospects what life was like before you joined Neolife. Number two, how you came to join the business, the circumstances, the events that led to you joining the business. Number three, the benefits you experience, either product-wise or income from the business. And number four, how the future looks like. It's very important for you to master telling your story. You know, Betty and I have been in this business for 27 years. And every time I tell my story, it's as if I'm telling it for the first time. Why is that? Because you can see that the person who is listening to it can actually relate to it and be inspired by the story. Okay? So learn to tell your story. And it should not take more than 2 or 3 minutes. And as an example, this is how our story goes. When Betty and I moved to South Africa, I got employed by a civil engineering consulting firm, and Betty could not get a job because at that time she didn't have a work permit, and also she didn't have a job offer. The challenge was for you to get a work permit, you need a job offer, and for you to get a job offer, you need a work permit. That was a catch-22 situation. And the other challenge is that Betty was apprehensive about getting a job because one of our children, Felix, has got sickle cell, and that required one of us to be a full-time parent. And because I had a job, Betty opted to be a full-time parent. So her struggle was that, should I get a job or not? So when when a friend of ours called Betty and said, Betty, I know you have a sick child. There's a business I'd like you to have a look at. You don't need any experience. You just need to learn, but you build it from home. Betty went for a presentation, and the person who presented the business that evening was Mr. Hans Kronia. We are forever grateful to him for showing us the business. So Betty came home and explained to me, I think it's a business we can do. I don't know the details, but I think we can do. So I went for a presentation also. When I came back, I said, let's try it. We wouldn't know whether we would succeed or not. That's how we got started in the business. Did we have any money? No. I wrote a check and asked my bank manager to honor the check. Of course, he was a bit apprehensive. How much money do you need to start the business? So I told him only 425 rand, which is at that time was about $40. That's how Betty and I got started in the business. Initially, our goal was to earn $200 a month, but after 7 months of hard work, our income reached $1,000. That's when the penny really dropped for me, and we took the business seriously. We worked very hard. After 3 years of doing the business part-time, our income from the business was 3 times my salary. On the 27th September 1999, I fired my boss. Since then, I've been full-time in the business. And another benefit that we have received in this business is the products. These products help our son Felix to go through college, finish. Now he's working at Absa Bank. We're truly grateful. Apart from the income, it's the benefit of the products we have received. And for us, the future of this business is so bright, we need sunglasses to see. So I would urge all those who are looking at this business for the first time to make a decision. That in brief is our story about the business. Use your own circumstance to tell your story. 4 parts. Number 1, how your life was like before you joined Neolife. Number 2, how you came to join Neolife. Number 3, the benefit you experienced from the products or the income part of the business. And number 4, how the future looks like. The next thing is you need to learn how to do use the standard format of the presentation. And that leads me back to item number 1. Do what duplicates, not what works. And the reason why we always recommend all our distributors, please use the standardized format that your business leader uses to present the business. Why? It becomes duplicatable. All right? So learn to use a standard format of presenting the business idea. And the presentation has got 4 parts. The first part is telling your story, just like I have done. The second part is developing the need. That means you begin to show the people the reason why they need to join. Jobs, although they're there, they're not reliable because one day you're going to be told your services are no longer required. 2, in the job situation, your income is limited to what your employer can tell you. Number 3, because of technology, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. So you develop the need. The need simply means you enunciate the reasons why the person needs to start the business. Okay? And then the third part is go to the logic of the business. How does the business work? What do we need to do on a daily basis to grow the business? Using the products, sharing the business, sharing the products, and then growing a team and personal development. That is the logic of our business. And the last is call to action. Call to action simply means once the prospect has seen the business, you need to tell them, okay, this is what you need to do. Get the person who invited you. They'll give you an application form. They'll tell you how much you need to pay to get started in the business. Once you do that, they will show you how to go about it and get started in the business. What is required for you to succeed? 3 things. Number 1, the desire for success. Number 2, teachability. Number 3, faith in yourself that you can faith and belief in yourself that you can succeed, and you need patience to build the business. That is what call to action is. So 4 parts of the presentation: your story, the need, the logic of the business, and call to action. You need to practice this. I remember when Betty and I started, I used to practice in the evening, when I'm at home, in the car, when I'm driving to work, in the bathroom. I would play these presentations in my head. I would sit down. I would ask. I remember the first presentation I did. I took an old calendar, turned the back, and presented the business idea to Betty. And he said, if I was your guest, I wouldn't know what to do because I didn't understand what you said. But I kept practicing. I kept practicing until I was able to do it efficiently, and that's how our business really grew. Remember one thing: whoever has the felt pen or a marker pen is the one who makes the most money. It means the more presentations you do, the more successful you're going to become. So that is about presenting the business. The next thing is how to follow up. How do you follow up with your prospects once they have seen the business idea? Remember things about follow-up. Number 1, the goal of presenting the business is to educate your prospect. It is not to convince them, it's to educate. So you need to act as a consultant, not as a salesperson. A consultant asks questions, asks the needs of the prospect, and given what the prospect says, you'll be able to relate the business to their need. And then ask questions that reveals their thinking, reveals what it is that they want to do. Okay? Number 4, the 4th thing is every person requires 4 to 6, sometimes 8 exposures before the prospect says yes. So don't just present the business to a person. They say no once time, then you leave them alone. You might be leaving a person who could really change your business. So do not expose the business to them once and then you say, okay, that guy is not interested. No, you need to go to them 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Even if they have said no, don't write them off. Say something like this: John, I know maybe this is not the right time for you to join the business, or the business is not for you now. Can I call you in 2 months or 3 months? Most people would say, yes, you're free to call me. Why is that important? Because people's circumstances change. And when they change, they might look at the business again. Okay? So follow up with your prospect 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 times. And then let's talk about objections that you're going to come across in the business. A friend of mine, a very excited new young person who joined our business at the beginning of this year, I gave him a book to read, and he said one of the things he read is that people will tell him it's a pyramid scheme. But when his friends actually asked him, is this a pyramid scheme? That really threw him off. So apart from having knowledge about what objections people are going to have, just prepare yourself emotionally to deal with them, all right? The objectives you're going to get are, is this a pyramid scheme? The products are too expensive. It takes too much time. I don't have time to do it. Or this thing, I don't think it works. There are all sorts of excuses. I know so-and-so started and nothing happened. There are all sorts of objections you're going to get. But all of them can be reduced to only 2 categories. The first, the limiting belief in self. Most people who have those objections don't believe that they can become successful themselves. And how does it come out? They give you all sorts of reasons. It's a pyramid scheme. Even if you explain to them this is not a pyramid, it's a business. And by the way, the most stable geometric structure in life is a pyramid. Okay? The Kenya government, South African government, Nigerian government, the government of Tanzania are all pyramid structures. There's only one president, one deputy, ministers, heads of department, employees. That's a pyramid structure. Okay? But the pyramid structure has got negative connotation. All right? So the first category of objections is limiting belief in self. The second category is limiting belief in network marketing as a profession or as an industry. Why? Because of ignorance. Most people do not understand this business. In fact, I think the one thing that really puts people off is because you invest $50, $60 to start this business only. And once you do that, you've got access to 50 countries around the world. You've got access to the whole Neolife infrastructure, the scientific advisory board, support of everything you. So when they invest such a little money, they don't think this thing works. And that's the challenge that people face. So limiting belief in the industry. This is a very highly professional business. And if you master those 7 skills in network marketing, it is the highest paying profession in the world. Okay? So two main categories of objection: limiting belief in self and limiting belief in network marketing as an industry. I would suggest to you to read about our industry, read about human nature, and read about how to handle objections. When you're handling objections, don't argue with people. You know your story. You know this business works. So when somebody tells me this is a pyramid scheme, I would say, well, maybe you're right, but I don't think it's a pyramid scheme. And I'll explain to you the difference. In fact, the counterbalance to that thing is ask, you say it's a pyramid scheme, explain to me what you mean by a pyramid scheme. Then most people, you'll find that they're tongue-tied. They won't really explain to you what a pyramid scheme is. Because they know if they do explain what a pyramid scheme is, you will tell them that's not what we do. Okay? So that's how to handle objections. Another very important aspect about follow-up. Do not argue with your prospects. Just address their concerns by saying something like the following. Peter or John, whatever your name is, I know I accept your concerns about what the business is, and I would like to address all of them. But the information I've given you is enough for you to make a decision and get started. Most of the things that you're asking are going to be addressed during the training process. Okay? In fact, one of the legends of this industry says, when a prospect asks a question like that, don't answer them directly. Just say, I know you have a lot of questions and issues. Those will be addressed during training. What we need you to do is we want to give you enough information to make a decision. So do not argue with the prospect, just address their concerns. Because when you argue with somebody, they keep entrenching themselves in whatever they believe to be true. In fact, a few times after a prospect has told you many things, I just turn around and say, you know, John, I don't think this business for you is maybe for other people, or it's not the right time for you. I found that statement throws off people completely off guard because they realize that you're actually not begging them to join the business. Okay, so that's about following up prospects to join the business and addressing your objection. The thing I want to end with is the power of friendship. Thank you, Helen. The power of friendship. Why is friendship very important? Because he who finds a friend finds a treasure, and there is nothing that can compare to his excellence. A friend is something very, very important. In fact, yesterday I was speaking to one of our new, very excited distributors. I was telling them that what you need to be looking for, you need to look for people that you like and love and want to serve. If you change your thinking that way, you're going to attract the right kind of people. Don't look for people to recruit. Look for people you like and you'd like to serve. Look for people that you like and love and you want to help to become successful. If you approach them with that mindset, your thinking and your attitude will actually be different. If you approach somebody and say, you know, I'm looking, okay, don't tell them directly, but this is your attitude, that you're looking for somebody you want to be friends with, you'd like to help, and you like them. Because when you build friendship, you build directorship. All right? A few things that are important for friendship. Number one is sincerity. Very critical. What is sincerity? Sincerity is truth in what we say. A conscience, clear conscience, is truth in what we think. Loyalty is truth in what we do. Those are three very clear aspects of truthfulness. Sincerity, clear conscience, loyalty. What we say, if it's true, it's sincerity. If what we say, what we think is true, it's a clear conscience. If what we do is true, it's loyalty. All right? A very important aspect about this is action is the antidote to despair and is also the prescription for success. Those are very important. You need to be loyal to your goals. You need to be loyal to your family. You need to be loyal to your team and loyal to Neolife. If you have these basic things, then you're building a very solid foundation for friendship. Now, let's discuss friendship. What are the three aspects that are very important in having long-term friendship? Number one, common concern. The common concern is what lays the foundation or provides a desire for the friendship to start developing. Common concern. All right? The second one is mutual interest. This is how friendship is lived out. Because people who have mutual interest, they tend to share things and life and thoughts. Mutual interest. And the third aspect of friendship is virtue. That is integrity of soul. This gives us the capacity to start and maintain friendship. This is an inner goodness that appeals to people. You see, when people sense the goodness in your soul, they're attracted to you. They find themselves attracted to you because you meet a very deep need for people to trust you. All right. So three things are very important for friendship: common concern, mutual interest, and virtue. Virtue is simply integrity of soul. Four basic virtues in life: prudence, which means practical wisdom; temperance, regulating your feelings and emotions; fortitude is internal strength to endure hard things; and then justice, that is giving to everybody what is due to them. This is what virtue is. Those are the basic human virtues. That integrity of soul is very important for our business, because when people trust you, they can give themselves to the business because they know that you're always going to be there to support them. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. This is a saying that we've had in our business for a long time. If you care about people, you will find that they do things which they would normally not do. Okay? A few tips on friendship. Number one, get to know your success lines. In fact, I think the right term to use in our business is not downlines, but success lines. It makes a difference. Okay? Success lines. So take time to know your success lines, their personal life, their birthdays, their family situation. Take time to have coffee with them once a month. Sometimes if you don't talk about the business, talk about other things so that you get to know your team members. You get to know your success lines. If you do that, if people know that you actually care about them, not the PV they do, you will find that you're inspiring people to work harder and become successful in the business. All right? So when people sense that you love them, when people sense that you actually care about who they are and what they think and what they're going through, you're going to develop loyalty in your team. And when you have loyalty, your business grows without any borders. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you very much for spending this evening with Betty and myself. And we hope that the next 2 weeks are going to be a fantastic February, because this year's February is a leap year. It means something has to change, something different has to occur. All right. So take time. Some of the things we have shared with you, put them into practice, and see how your business is transformed. Cynthia, I want to thank you very much for hosting our meeting today, and as you've been hosting during this month of February, we really appreciate. And all those distributors who put aside their time to share this evening with us. Thank you. Good night and God bless.